सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. So in verse number 34 we saw the student does the upasana, guru aradhana, and he finds the teacher in a happy mood. And it was said that one should go and ask the teacher about the self. Richet Jnatavyam Atmanaha. Now the student goes to the teacher and surrenders. Two verses which are very beautiful, which explain what the state of the student is and how the student goes to the teacher and surrenders and opens up to the teacher. So verse number 35. Swamin namaste nataloka bandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau मामुद्धरात्मी अकटाक्ष दृष्ट्या ऋज्व्याति कारुण्य सुधाभिवृष्ट्या. So he says here, Swamin, O Master. Swamin means one who has mastered himself. Swami means somebody who has full control on oneself, who has integrated the body, mind and intellect. Swamin, Namaste, he surrenders. Namaste, Nataloka Bandhu. He addresses the teacher as the one who is the friend of all those who come to surrender to that teacher. Sometimes one Nata also means one who considers oneself as low or who has fallen. So seeking help, whoever comes to you seeking help, you are a friend of all of them. Swamin Namaste Nataloka Bandho Karunya Sindho, you are an ocean of compassion. Patitam Bhavabdhav, and I have fallen in this ocean of samsara. You are an ocean of compassion. I have fallen in the ocean of samsara. Mam Uddhara, please lift me up. How? Kataksha Drishtya, just by a side glance. Rijvyati Karunya Sudhabhivristya, with a direct side glance. Riju means straight, direct. A direct straight glance born out of your supreme compassion, which rain nectar. Vrishti means rain. Sudhabhivristya. It rains the nectar of supreme compassion. So now the shloka here means what? The student has gone there with this bhav that there is an insatiable thirst in me to become something. Bhava it is called. Bhava, bhavabdhav is the word used here. The insatiable thirst to constantly become something. No matter what I achieve in the world, there is always an incompleteness, there is always something missing. So the mind always wants to become something, to get somewhere, to get something. By itself, there is nothing wrong in having any goals, ambitions. But when there is an insecurity within, where one feels that I am inadequate or I am incomplete, so one imagines that when I become like this, then I will be more complete. When I get that, I will be more complete. And when one gets it also, the insecurity doesn't go. There is a moment of happiness. There is joy, there is pleasure, there is success, achievement. But the basic feeling of incompleteness and insecurity, that does not go, which prompts the person to again seek something else. This cycle is called Bhava Roga, where we realize that wants are fulfilled, but wanting does not get fulfilled. So constantly one is wanting something or the other, either in the gross realm where one is wanting objects, one is wanting name or fame, or in the subtle aspect one wants praise, recognition, love. So wanting does not stop. So the student here has introspected, understood about life, that this is not what one came here for. Fulfillment one has not got. So here he says, Patitam bhavabdhav, I have fallen in this ocean of samsara, but you are a very compassionate person. Karunya Sindhu, you are an ocean of compassion. See the difference between the student and the teacher. The teacher is an ocean of compassion, kindness, love, knowledge, peace, happiness. The student has fallen in the ocean of samsara. Samsara and bhavarog, both are the same. The teacher has crossed this actually. The teacher has also been at one point a student who has gone through this whole insatiable thirst, has overcome that, and now has a lot of compassion that to help somebody also who is going through the same difficulty. So he says, you are a friend of all those who are having troubles. Nataloka bandho, karunya sindhu, you are an ocean of compassion. Now this is not a flattery of the teacher. This is the fact. If a teacher is a master who has realized the truth, then this is a fact that the teacher has supreme compassion, karunya sindhu. And the teacher has that selfless desire to help those who are struggling. So he addresses the teacher that way. Nataloka bandho, karunya sindho, patitam bhavabdhav. I have fallen in this ocean of samsara. Mam uddhara, you please lift me up. So lift me up means if somebody is drowning in a physical, in an actual ocean with water, one can give a life jacket, put a rope, pull the person out. Here, how does one pull this person out? When there is emotional insecurity, when there is a feeling of incompleteness, how to pull the person out? Through knowledge, through opportunities to purify the mind. That is how one gets the person out. Mam uddhara, please lift me up. Mam uddhara. And in that, what the Guru does actually? Guru doesn't lift because nobody can lift. One has to rise by oneself. Supports can be given. So in the Gita, when Bhagavan says, Uddhared Atmana Atmanam, lift yourself by yourself. So lift yourself by yourself, Bhagavan tells Arjun. At the same time, Bhagavan gives Arjun that knowledge also, by which he can lift himself by himself. The knowledge of the self, the knowledge of higher way of living, the knowledge of values, knowledge of the state of realization, and the love that he has for Arjun. So both these, the knowledge that the teacher gives, the love that the teacher has for the student, that's why he says Nataloka bandho, karunya sindhu. All that is the emotional side of the teacher. And then the intellectual knowledge side of the teacher. And at the physical level, the opportunities to serve. So all these are provided. So Arjun was given the knowledge, he had the love. There is a field in front of him where he has to fight the war for the sake of righteousness. So in that way, Mam Uddhara, he says, that the student says, please lift me up. But what one must know is that This is an expression of surrender. It is not that one comes and says to the teacher that, I have surrendered, now you take me to moksha. Effort has to be put by the student himself. Gurudev used to say that, I am not a mule guru. I'm not going to carry you on my back to the destination. Each one has to put effort by oneself. So, Mam Uddhara. How? Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya. By your side glance. Now, this is, many people think that, oh, if the teacher just sees, I will get blessed. So much of our culture we have lost because of some of these. It's a poetic expression here, symbolic expression, Kataksha Drishti. Just a mere side glance, a direct side glance of the teacher's eye. Meaning, even a small aspect of the vision that the teacher has, if I am able to get that, I will be uplifted. A glimpse of the state in which the teacher is reveling. So like when we go to a temple and the arti is performed of the Lord, and when the arti is brought to us, then we do this. We take the arti, apply it on our eyes. What does that mean? May the vision of the Lord become my vision. The vision of oneness. May that become my vision. So in that same way here, when he says Kataksha Drishti, it is not that the Guru has to look from the side of his eye. If the Guru starts looking like that all the time, he'll become squint. It's constantly has to keep looking only through a side glance. Idea is a glimpse of the vision that the master is established in. Even if that little bit one gets, then the person goes beyond Bhavsagar. So he says, Mamuddhar Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya. And that glimpse is what? When we say one glimpse into the state in which the teacher is, for that our mind also must be ready. The teacher also makes our mind ready if we are not, no doubt in that. But our mind also must be ready for it. If a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is able to inspire Vivekananda to go into Samadhi through his words, through his life, and through his touch, Vivekananda was such a fit adhikari. So many people are listening to the master. So many people are seeing the master. So many people are being touched by the master. But when Vivekananda is touched, he goes into Samadhi. Why? Because he has that qualification. He's made himself ready. So in that way, if a student, as we saw earlier, 9 qualities, 9 fourfold qualifications, plus 1 bhakti. So totally 10 qualifications. If a student has cultivated those 10, then what happens? This glimpse will happen. That what is that state which is beyond body, mind and intellect? Where this small ego, this ego which is the source of incompleteness, where if I transcend that, what is it to be in that state? For us to be able to even desire that state or to get a glimpse of that state, those 10 qualifications are very important. Because the mind will not be able to drop the fascination for the world, the objects, and this samsara till it has those qualifications. So even if we try to withdraw what the teacher says, try to withdraw, try to contemplate, get into a state of quietude, meditation, again and again the mind runs out. So when one has attempted so much, sometimes one has no qualification proper. Sometimes one has qualifications, but the past vasanas, they come up. So the student surrenders to the teacher here, saying that Nataloka Bandho. You are a friend of all those who are struggling. You are an ocean of compassion. So with your side glance, with the power of the teacher lifts the student up. So our qualification is important. The ability to understand what is Kataksha Drishti is important. Any instruction of the teacher can be the Kataksha Drishti, not just the sight. So a student has to observe, the student has to be obedient. When the teacher gives an instruction, that instruction itself is a Kataksha Drishti. If a student follows that instruction properly, the student will realize the self. So if Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says Kamini, Kanchan and Kirti, one should not, for a spiritual seeker, one should rise above these. That itself is a Kataksha Drishti. You know, Tapon Maharaj, there's a beautiful incident in his life. So when one day he was sitting in the Kutia in Uttarkashi, what he found, a student just entered with 2 bags. So when the student entered with the 2 bags, he had gone to get something. He got it. He got with 2 bags. So as soon as the person entered through the door, he said, drop it. So the student dropped a bag. He said, again, drop it. The student dropped the second bag. Then again he said, third time, drop it. And the student went into samadhi. His mind got absorbed. Because the third time when he said, drop it, the student dropped the ego. And he got absorbed in the state. So, in that way, one instruction is enough. There was one great saint called Sadashiva Brahmendra. And Sadashiva Brahmendra was a very intellectual person. Devotee of the Lord also. Devotee of Lord Ram. But very intellectual. When he was in his student days and he was in the Gurukul, he will have lots of questions, arguments, debates with the batchmates also, with the teacher also. So a few years passed, and one day when Sadashiva Brahmendra was having this discussion with the batchmates, the teacher came there, and the teacher just looked at him, and the teacher said, Summaire, means keep quiet. Sadashiva Brahmendra heard that, and he became quiet. He closed his mouth, he didn't speak, and he took the instruction of the teacher to a deeper level. He said, this ego goes on talking. This ego must shut up. No thought after that. For a few moments he was lost, absorbed in samadhi. That was a turning point in his life. From that intellectual level to beyond, he went. So Kataksha Drishti means this, that one instruction of the teacher is enough. The student will be able to lift oneself. Mamuddhara Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya. Kataksha Drishti also means one who is able to push us beyond the boundaries of the intellect into the realm of, call it mysticism, call it supreme self, where logic is transcended. One is not trapped in logic anymore. One has used logic, but one has gone beyond logic, beyond thought, beyond duality. And that state is the glimpse of the master's experience. So that is called Kataksha Drishti. Maamuddhara Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya. Rajvyati Karunya. And it is a direct glance, meaning a direct glimpse. Till now, we know ourselves only through indirect means. This is a direct means to know the self. Kataksha Drishti. By the direct glance of the teacher, we become aware of ourselves directly. That's the beauty. The glance of the teacher falls directly on the student, meaning the knowledge, the instruction, helps the student to drop all the indirect descriptions which are related to body, mind, intellect, and the student is able to transcend. Come to know oneself directly as I am. Rajvyati Karunya. And this the teacher does with supreme compassion. So when the teacher is saying, if Tapon Maharaj says, drop it, drop it, drop it, there's so much of compassion behind those words that if you drop the ego, you realize the truth. And at the right moment, the teacher says it. When the teacher knows this time the student is right, teacher says. Like the teacher of Sadashiva Brahmendra also. He allowed him to do his arguments, his debates and his questioning and talking and everything till a particular point where he felt now it is time, he is ready to cross over, he needs a push. So that push the teacher gives. That is out of supreme compassion. So if he told him, shut up, it was not an insult. You know, Gurudev himself used this very beautifully. This expression, shut up. I'll just share one video. It's so nice that he tells a reporter this. When the reporter is asking him, what is the final message that you want to give? A journalist is asking Gurudev. So there he brings this up. Says very beautifully this aspect.
Anything else you want to tell me?
I think I have nothing to tell. Keep quiet. Only the spiritual truth is shut up and get out. I'm not insulting you. Shut up in your mind, not in your mouth. Next thought need not come. And get out of this misconception that you are a body. You are something more than a body. You are not a body. You are all-pervading, eternal essence, the self, the consciousness, the life in you. The life in you is the life everywhere. Discover your identity with God, the one life everywhere, and that cannot be done until you shut up. So then, all that I can tell you is, shut up and get out. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's where it is. Shut up and get out. Kataksha Drishti. So, Maamuddhar Atmiya Kataksha Drishtya, Rajvyati Karunya, Sudhabhi Vrishtya. And what is that Kataksha Drishti going to rain on us? Nectar. Grace, supreme grace, and the nectar of that grace. So this is one verse about surrender also, about one's own readiness also, and how if one follows that instruction of the teacher, one will go beyond. Now the next verse, the student describes his Bhavaroga. When he spoke about Patitam Bhavabdhau, in a more poetic way, he goes ahead to describe this. These two verses, Gurudev used to tell us to memorize. And more important is the bhav of these two verses. It's not just the words. That what is the bhav with which the student has gone to the teacher. With this bhav that he has diagnosed his problem. So these two are the Arjuna Sthiti actually. The state of delusion, the state of confusion, the state where one feels completely beaten up. How Arjun went and surrendered to Sri Krishna. Finally, in the second chapter, 7th verse, he surrenders that I don't know what is right and wrong. I am completely overcome by miserliness. Please guide me and tell me what is the best for me. And I am ready to follow the instruction. So with that bhav, the student has gone. So in the same way here now, the teacher is approached by the student. Before we go to that, in the commentary of Puja Gurudev, he has said very beautifully, this second paragraph is very nice. He says, this is a verse that provides the seekers with a perfect prayer addressed to the Guru. Prayer is not begging, although in all religions of the world today it has come to gather almost a scandalous and painful meaning of beggary. To beg of the Lord for something or the other, for the sake of which we chant and sing glorified words of praise, along with offering sweets and candles, is an act of pulling down the edifice of the immortal and the perfect to the level of desire-ridden human creatures. God in His own glory needs none of our glorifications, nor has He any desire to partake of the objects that the devotee in His love can offer Him. He being the giver of all and yet the perfectly satisfied. So this is not a beggary, this is an invocation actually. So in the next page he says in 4th para, here is the trick of stooping to conquer. While the loving devotee prostrates to the idol, he also surrenders his ego, the vanities of false values in him, and his attachments to his body, mind and intellect. So this is a prayer in that sense, stooping to conquer. It is not begging, it is not asking. So now what is the state of the student in the 36th verse? Durvara samsara davagni taptam dodhuyamanam duradrishtavataihi bhitam prapannam paripahi mrityoho sharanyamanyadyadaham na jane. So he says here, Durvara samsara davagni taptam. I am being roasted in this fire of samsara, which is very difficult to cross. Dodhuyamanam duradrishtavataihi. I am being tossed in this storm, duradrishtavataihi, in this terrible storm of misfortune. Dodhuyamanam, being tossed here and there. Strong winds are there. Bhitam, he says, Bhitam, I am very scared. Prapannam, I seek your refuge. Paripahim mrityo, please save me from death. Sharanyam anyat yadaham na jane. No other refuge I know. So he says, Durvara samsara davagni taptam. I am getting roasted in this forest fire. So forest fire is, see, because of a lightning or any other means, once a tree catches fire, the winds which are blowing will very fast burn away the entire forest. Because it will just catch tree after tree and it will just burn. Very fast it will burn. So in that way, the student is using that analogy to say, and any attempt to try to remove that fire, because the breeze is so strong, it just keeps spreading. So in that way, one has to feel, this is a poetic expression, but does one feel like this? That when I'm living in this world, I'm being scorched. See, this is not victimization. This is not feeling pity. This is not feeling that life is unfair. This is not feeling because of some disappointment or failures. This attitude is that I am being scorched by my own ego, where my own ego goes on playing tricks with me, where I am not able to act out of clarity, act out of a higher way of life. Again and again, the ego beats me back. So I am being scorched. There are agitations within the mind. There are attachments, there are aversions. And because of that, externally also, I allow circumstance to overwhelm me. I become weak. So this is not victimization, but this is very clearly understanding that in this samsara, as long as I have this ego, I will get beaten up. I will get scorched. Nobody else is scorching me as much as my own ego. So Durvara Samsara Davagni Taptam. Davagni is a forest fire. One incident has to happen, one comment somebody has to make. That is like the lightning. And the forest fire starts. Agitation starts, reaction starts, anger, violence, so many things. And one's heart is being burned. When there is agitation in the heart, there is so much of pain, there is disturbance. One is not able to sleep properly. Body gets affected badly. Relationships get strained. So, without blaming anybody outside, without feeling that I am being a victim, somebody else is exploiting me, this is not about that. This is about one's own limitation. So it says, Durvara Samsara Davagni Taptam. And how will I cross this over? It is not possible to do by my own effort, which is where guidance is required. Because ego is very subtle. Many times we don't even know that we are under the influence of the ego. So Durvara Samsara Davagni Taptam. Dodhuya Manam Duradrishtavataihi. In the storms in the world, I am being tossed about here and there. So our own attachments and aversions make us toss between success and failure, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow. One is the external pairs of opposites, other is internal attachment and aversion. I keep getting tossed between what I like, what I don't like. Externally, the heat and cold, success and failure, praise and criticism. So constantly there is a tossing. There is continuous tossing between what I seek, who I am. There is a continuous tossing which is happening between the love that I seek and the people whom I love. I don't get sometimes the love from the people. So I'm tossed between one person to other, one relationship to other. So when one sees, one experiences this pain, that how is this life in this samsara? That one keeps getting tossed by one's own false expectations or one's own insecurities, one's own ego, one's own attachment. So one gets scared that this whole life will just go like this. Such a precious opportunity, why should it be lost like this? So one is scared that will my life just end like this? Constantly affected by the change, I don't know that there is a changeless. Even if I know I have come to study and understand, but mind is still getting tossed. Then the fear is more. Because when a person doesn't know and one suffers, that is one level of suffering. But when a person knows and then one is suffering, then there is much more. Because one knows that there is a changeless, but one is nowhere close to that. So there is a fear, bhitam. There is also fear born out of attachment, attached to the people, attached to the things, attached to the ego. And one knows that this is entire realm is temporary. One is actually sandwiched. Gurudev used to say that the body, mind, intellect, they are constantly changing. The object, emotions and thoughts, they are constantly changing. Buffeted between these two is the perceiver, feeler, thinker, the ego. And this ego wants changeless happiness, buffeted between the changing realm. And the ego itself is constantly changing. So the whole realm is samsara, continuously changing. And how much one tries to find security in this changing realm. So that's why he says, bhitam, I'm scared. So when there is fear in the heart, fear arises because of lack of knowledge. Ignorance is the root cause of fear. So 3 steps in which fear plays in our life. First step, I don't know. So even in a dark room, I don't know what is there. So then I'm scared. What is going to be in the future? I don't know. That can cause anxiety. I have written an exam. I don't know what marks I will get. That can cause fear. My child has not come back home. It is 1 in the night. The phone is not reachable. Immediately the mind thinks maybe something untoward has happened. Fear starts. So when I don't know, ignorance is the first step. Second step is what if, which is the projection. What if this has happened? What if that has happened? What if there is a ghost? What if there is a thief? What if there is some cockroach? Mind imagines in a dark room. If the child has not returned, what if there's an accident? What if somebody has harmed the child? Anything. The mind imagines. So I don't know leads to what if. All negative projections will start. And when these projections go out of control, then the third step, I can't handle it. Very, very stressful. I can't handle it. One gets completely nervous. One may not even be able to function or discriminate objectively or have some fortitude, patience. Mind has become so disturbed and so restless. So these are 3 steps. I don't know. What if? I can't handle it. Ignorance, negative projections, and one has become scared after that. So in that way, in the world also, bhitam, one gets very scared. So what should one do at such a time? Prapannam, seek guidance. Arjun sought guidance and Arjun opened up. He accepted that yes, I am deluded. I am confused. I am not able to discriminate what is right, what is wrong. So in that way, one goes to the teacher here. He has gone to the teacher and is asking, he's surrendering, saying, I am scared, but I have come here to seek your refuge. Bhitam prapannam. Paripahi mrityo. Now here mrityu does not mean death. He is not scared of death. Mrityu literally means change. He says, please save me from the realm of the change. My body, mind, intellect is changing. The world outside is changing. Everything is constantly changing. And I am in the pursuit of the changeless happiness. So please help me from this realm of change. I want to rise above this identification. Bhitam prapannam. Paripahi mrityo. And it can also mean that when we are living in this world, constantly we are dying. Every moment the body is getting consumed. The body is moving, it's like a candle. So when the candle is lit, constantly it keeps burning and the candle keeps becoming less and less and less and less. So one is moving towards that, where identified with the perishable body, one is going through that trouble. One is going through that feeling that fear of death will be there. So either it is a fear of change or it is a fear of death, that I don't have time, there's so many things to do. So the mind is disturbed. So he says here, Paripahi Mrityoho. Sharanya Manyat. I don't know any other refuge. Because one who has gone beyond this realm of change alone can help us to go beyond the change. One who is already caught up in the realm of change will not be able to help us to go beyond. So that's why he says Sharanyam Anyat. Anyat here doesn't mean that except you in the whole world there is nobody to save me. I have found you by grace of Bhagavan, and so I don't know any other person who can help me to go beyond attachment to the body, mind, intellect, who can guide me, because there is no path. There is no fixed path. Each one has their own vasanas, their own tendencies. So one just comes and surrenders to that teacher. And this Sharanya Manyad also indicates single pointed surrender. There is no looking left and right after that. One very important aspect in spiritual progress is this, that we may initially experiment, try, find out who is a master and who is able, to whom I can tune up. So one may approach different people also. One is in a phase where one is testing it out. But when one finds one place, one must just get committed to that place. Then no need to look left and right. No need to follow everybody. No need to listen to everybody. If one happens to listen somewhere, that's a different matter, but one doesn't seek. One path. So very nicely it is said, Ek Sant, Ek Granth, Ek Panth, Ek Mantra. One of each. So one saint, meaning one Satguru, whoever he or she is, one should just, when one finds that person, just be committed to that one person. Sharanya Manyat, Ek Sant, Ek Granth, one book. Whether it is Gita, Upanishads, Vivek Chudamani, any one book, even Tattva Bodh, commit oneself to living the way shown by that one book. Ek Sant, Ek Granth, Ek Panth, one path one should follow. Karma, Bhakti, Jnana, Raja, there are all paths and there may be many more also. But choose one path predominantly. The others may be there because we have body, mind, intellect, all personalities, all layers. So we may require the others also, but one path predominantly and one mantra. Chant only one mantra. Ishta mantra is one. And one can do one more, Gayatri mantra. 2 maximum. So in that way, when he says Sharanyam Anyat, no other refuge I know, is one has come, one has understood, here is a teacher, one surrenders. You see Shankaracharya ji, he went to his teacher, Govinda Bhagavat Pada, got committed there. He did not look left and right, nobody else after that. Many times what happens, we don't find the appropriate person. We feel we have found, and then after some time we get disillusioned, then we keep jumping, we keep changing, which is why it is very important that those qualifications which were said earlier, Shrotriya, Avrajina, Akamahataha, Brahmavittamaha, Brahmani Uparata, Shantaha, Nirindhana Ivanalaha, those qualifications one must identify, one must stay, observe, one will know. So, when one finds such a teacher, then Sharanya Manyat Yadaham na Jane. When we have come to a person like Gurudev, there is nothing to see after that. Rare is a person like Gurudev. If that conviction has come to us, we don't see anywhere else. How dynamic, how logical, how pure, selfless, established in the truth, who has created a field for us, gave us the right vision, everything. Created avenues for service, created avenues for devotion, gave the clarity of knowledge. So many things that he did, all for us. So when we understand this, Sharanya Manyat Yad Aham na Jane, I know no other refuge. I have surrendered to you, I have come to you, O teacher. Now please help me out. Give me that glimpse of the truth, and I will be able to go beyond this realm of change. So these are two verses where the student has come forward to open up to the teacher. See, very important it is to be able to open up to the teacher. There is nothing that is hidden from the teacher. When the student opens up and pours out, the student becomes more receptive, teacher understands, and the student gets the solution also appropriately. So this opening up in front of the teacher is indicated in these two beautiful verses. For today, we will stop here. Any questions? You are welcome.
Hariom Swamiji, you said 10, four-fold qualification bhakti, and what was the 5?
So, Vivek, first one, Vairagya, second one, Shakka Sampatti is 6, so totally 8. Then Mumukshutvam 9, and Bhakti is 10th. So
Thank you, Swamiji.
in that way, it is 10. Okay, so we stop here for today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.